Hey, I am here with the homeschool art classes, and I am just going to go through one of our classes. You may have missed it last week. It was the optical tubes. So this was actually one of the ones I did at the last class because each one I did, they got a little bit different. Each time I did it, I decided to leave some open spaces. So I'm going to walk you through that. Today, you're going to need a pencil, preferably number 2 pencil with an eraser, maybe a pencil sharpener. You are going to need just plain white paper, so nothing super fancy. Even the first ones I did, I actually did them on the back of scratch paper that I had that was like office paper. So it can be something like that. You could also use like some mixed media paper, which is another one that I had. This is kind of my scratch paper that's got the printing on the back. So if whatever you have, so use what you have as always. Make sure that you ask permission first. So all you're gonna do with your white paper, I'm gonna change my angle just a little bit. So you can see, you're actually gonna take it and all you're gonna do is draw a squiggly column. Now, the first ones I did, I changed them so they were kind of even, but I also found that I like to do squiggly columns, and you can have them kind of get smaller at one end. They can also be the same, so it doesn't matter. They can bulge out, they can bulge in, it's okay, you're the artist, you choose. And then maybe I'll start this other one here and here. Okay, so I got my columns, all squiggles, right? Squiggles all down the page, okay? So then the next thing, I'm trying to get this so you can see it. What I'm gonna do, and I might draw the first one so you can see it, and then we'll talk about how to fine tune it. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna pick a column, it doesn't matter which one, just pick one. And that is actually going to be the template. So I actually do find that picking one somewhat close to the middle makes it a little bit easier. So I like to start in the middle of the column, and you're going to arch. So what I mean by that is you're going to take and draw a little arch in the tube. So they are all actually going to end up going the same direction. And it'll take a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. The first few you do, this happened with me, the first few I did, I was like, oh, that's not a very good arch. It kind of took me a minute to get my arch formed. And then once I got it, I was like, oh yeah, I got the hang of this now. You'll notice that you kind of start to feel like they look like Dr. Seuss or something, that, you know, some sort of artwork that we've seen before like that. So there's a tube that's all the way done. So notice they're all going the same direction. So don't make your arches go one way and then the other, because it will lose the optical illusion effect. So then what you're going to do is you're going to actually follow that as your template, and it's going to go across. So what I mean by that is you're going to then match each arch onto the next column, which is it's gonna create some rhythm, but because the columns are all different shapes, it's going to create a completely different look for each one that you do. And you'll notice that some get a little tricky because the shape is so different. And there's even been a couple where I had to actually draw another arch in. So that's that step. Okay, so see how they're lined up in the center? That line right there kind of gives them their connection point. So I'm going to do one more so you can see that step going all the way across. The idea is to keep them sort of rounded at each of the edges. That's going to help give it its optical illusion. And if you don't like the arch that you made, it's really easy to erase it and start over. So no big deal there. Okay, so there's the arches. So you're going to fill your whole paper. So what that's going to look like is this. So these were really small This is actually one of the first ones I did, and you can see I got a little wobbly, but it still looks really cool. It's starting to kind of look like a shell or fish scales or something in that realm. The next step is going to be to take a dark colored marker. You don't have to use black, but what happens when you use a dark color is it actually is a really great contrast when you go to color in your colored pencil or your crayon or marker, whatever you want to do, and it gives you a contrast that makes it so that it does start to pop. Now, I went through and lined all my lines with black. So you'll want to do the whole thing. And for me, I actually went and drew my lines down first, and then it could just kind of go whoop, 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 when I went across and did the whole thing across. And it's kind of fun. It's a lot like that art technique called Zentangle, where you just kind of get in the zone and you just doodle, and you kind of, your mind just becomes part of the process. So it's very much like a Zentangle. It's very relaxing. You'll start to feel kind of like, oh, I'm in the flow of things. It feels pretty good after a minute. It's really calming. So you should teach your parents how to do this basically too, and do it with your family, do it with your brothers and sisters, because it's good for everyone to have something they can sit, focus on, relax, breathe. These are all good things to do right now. So I want to show you, so you this one. So I chose to color in my sections with different shades of blue. So that's one option. So after you color in all your pencil marks with the black marker, then you can decide what you want to do as far as your color scheme goes. So the first one I did was actually this blue one, and I decided to do different shades of blue. They're very subtle. But then I started to kind of really explore all my options with color, and we kind of talk about shading a little bit. So one of the ways which you can shade, this one's really cool, totally inspired by like the red rocks. You can shade the edges, and you can do that from both sides. I did all of the shading on the one side across the board because I wanted it to have a depth that came down as it did. So I think I actually ended up having 3 colors. I did a lighter and a middle and a dark. You can also blend those two and go over the top of each other, and that'll give you a blend as well. And I didn't finish that one, so you can see the blank, but maybe you want to leave a blank one. But hey, you're the artist, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to all be filled in. You can leave some space somewhere, right? You can leave something open. You get to choose. You just, because you draw all those lines doesn't mean you have to fill them all in. The other thing you can do, which I don't have an example of, is to do different colors or alternate, which is really fun because it looks like stripes. So that way tends to look a lot more kind of Dr. Seuss character-y. It's very fun. So I really liked that method too. I've done a few of these now. They're really fun. Oh, I have one with the colors. So there's the alternating colors right there. And then this one has the shading. This is actually 3 colors done on each little section. So you can see how the tubes, this one I have a rainbow pencil, so that one was the rainbow pencil. And yeah, I just have one left apparently, or do I want to fill it in? So it's really cool which way you're gonna look at it. It kind of like comes off the page, right? Kind of a neato thing. And then the last one, which I wanted to get a little more creative with my own interpretation of the design, which was to leave this open and kind of create a look of like a landscape. So this is the earth line. This is sort of like the tree line, and then that's maybe the sky with the horizon. I haven't got up into here yet. I was going to do a darker shade of blue. So you have a lot of options with what you can do with this technique. Optical Illusion Art is actually pretty old. There are some artwork pieces that you can look up on the internet, and if you want a thing to do on your own to research, definitely look it up. There's a piece from, I think it's 1913, and it's just 2 colors. Black with little white geometric lines, and it pulls the design out. And at first you look at it and you're like, what? And then you relax a little bit and you see it kind of pop off the page. It's really cool. Or maybe you've seen those things where you look at it and then you kind of like start to get dizzy because it starts to go, ooh, ooh, ooh. So that's optical illusion art, also called op art, popular in the 60s and 70s as well for concert posters. Really bright colors, kind of swirling. Think about that for optical illusion art too, but there's a lot. And sometimes it's done with color and fades of color, and sometimes it's done completely with line work and black and white images. So I hope you have fun researching it. If you do some of these, please make sure that we get to see a photo. We love that. And I'm also gonna load a couple different projects into our homeschool group that you can print out and color at home. So I hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you soon.